Hey, what's going on, guys? Want to do a quick recap about how some of the trades that I took last week, some things to learn, something to improvise, and hopefully you guys had a profitable week. I mean, last week had a lot of volatility in the market, and hey, you know what? Volatility is actually good if you want to trade. The worst is when you have a situations where markets are not really going anywhere, right? The more volatility is, the kind of better it is as we are trading equities. So let's take a look. So last week, I was roughly up about $822. Made so nothing, no home runs, a couple of singles and a couple of doubles. Um, so yeah, overall, I mean, looks pretty good, right? In terms of the risk reward and in terms of the probability of being profitable. So pretty good. So let's take a look on a few trades and see what I did and what I could have done. So last week was really a week where there's a lot of errors on keystrokes. Don't know what happened, but just a matter of fact that it happened, right? So let's take a look at one of the trades. So let's break it down. So let's look at this MYOK, right? So MYOK, I always look at the daily chart. This is a daily chart, the weekly chart, and this is a 2-minute chart. Or you can look at a 5-minute chart depending on what kind of time frame you're trading at. So my bias really was for the stock once it breaks over the $24 key level for it to actually go, right? The thought process was absolutely right, right? The thought process is absolutely right. So you can see that right off the bat, I bought 300 shares at 24.28. Now I did do a keystroke error, which is instead of buying more, I actually sold the 300 shares, which actually made me into a negative, right? And it's just a day of keystroke errors. Again, in terms of for me to buying it again, I actually shorted it, which is kind of a mistake on here, right? So this is always a buy, then I sold it, then I just shorted, and then so these four are really keystroke errors, which kind of threw me off, right? As traders, I always talk about there's two type of capital that you're looking at. One is a financial capital, which is how much money you have, how much risk are you willing to take, how much drawdowns are you willing to take, and the other, which is a key factor in terms of trading, is almost 90% is mental capital, right? Because there's only so much things that we can process in a short span of time. So if we have to make a lot of decisions in a short amount of time, chances are we will make mistakes, right? If we are given a chance where we have lots of time to think about, chances are we will have more time, and chances of probability of making a right decision is higher. So the smaller amount of time there is, the more decisions you have to make. So it means you're trying to use up your whole mental capital in a short span of time. So this kind of all threw me out after I messed up in like less than 3 minutes and I made 4 trades. So this kind of threw me off. But what I did really good in this was I waited for this flag to form, right? Once it formed this first flag, I hit it and I took my profits over here. That's what you see. So instead of going higher on higher shares, I actually went on with 300 and I quickly scaled it out. Pretty decent, right? On 300 shares at 28.20, took out 70 cents, 80 cents on the move, which was pretty good. Overall, the stock did end up going way higher, but that's not really the point. The point is trying to understand the mental capital that you have and try to make the best decisions, because once you have a few bad trades, chances are it will throw you off a bit. Let's look at some of the trades. So MYOK is done. Let's look at this ESPR. Uh, so on this ESPR trade, let's take a look. So overall the bias was long, right? If you look at the daily chart, it has this nice break on this $51 level, which was the key over here. And then look on the weekly chart, once again, nice trending on the upside move, right? So a nice trend on the daily, nice trend on the weekly. So my bias has to be long. Now, a mistake which I did really was um, when the stock is actually trading on the lower end of the range, chances of it actually starts popping through is highly unlikely, right? So I should have waited for it to actually base out on over 51 region and start going. Um, Instead, I actually just went in right at the open. One thing which I did really well was right when I went in, I managed, if once I see it not holding, I actually took it out. So right at the open, the spreads were pretty wide. So in terms of me getting the $51, I actually got 51.50, which is total crap. And I ended up getting 50.73 as one of the trades, and I got out. Now, once I saw this reclaim of this $51 level, that's when I was like, you know what, this might be the one where I actually might hold and actually go. So that's why I actually hit it with 600 shares. Now the spreads were a bit tighter because after the first 5 minutes, the spreads get a bit tighter. So I managed to get about 51.50, 51.24. Now, one good thing which I did really was I took off 300 shares at 52.38, right? So knowing my levels pre-market and knowing that there was some kind of resistance over here, I took out quite a bit of trades on here, right? 52.38, 51.95, and so on. Now, what I was really looking for, if this was really a good level to trade against, after this all flush movement, this up move, chances is gonna flag and then go. So I re-hit it, anticipating for it to break the 52.50 and start going through, which didn't really happen because once I got on 52.50 at 300 shares, I actually got stopped out for about 55-60 cents on here. So that was pretty much the trade, right? But after all, if you see, the ESPR actually made a really significant move after I actually got out, right? Let's take a look. Okay, so you heard what here are my trades, and once it re-held this $52 level, and look at this go, this went up to $4, right? So I usually try to trade the first 30 minutes to an hour, so if things really doesn't turn up, if I make some decent gains in the first half hour, since I don't want to trade again, because there's no point in using up my whole mental capital. So that was a trade on the ESPR. Let's take a look at the other trade on Nvidia, which I did actually on Friday. So Nvidia was actually a pretty good trade by looking at the levels, right? So pre-market, I actually tweeted it out, the key levels that I'm looking at. So pre-market levels of 150.68, 160.50, and so on. The 150 was a key level as well. So one good thing which I really did on Nvidia chart was wait for it to come to my levels. Right, that is really the key. So if you take a look at this, right? So this one on the Nvidia, we had this initial push down, came back to the level of 158.70, right? The level that I drew over here, which is a pre-market level. And look what happened. Once it came up to 158.70, I actually shorted it, right? Short. So I got 158.17, right? Right here. Now, the initial profit target should be 155. I mean, this was a nice push of $3 down here. But I took some, so instead of taking some off over here, I actually mismanaged the trade. Again, a keystroke error. Instead of taking some out, I actually hit it out 200, and then I wasn't really looking at the screen. So instead of, I initially thought I took out only 100 shares or 50 shares. So that's one of the reasons why you see me getting in this. And once I realized, you know what, there is a mistake being done on here, I quickly rearranged my mistakes and ended up with a profit of 238. So overall, the thought process is right in terms of understanding what are the key levels I want to trade against, and for the market to actually come to the levels and try to find some kind of an exhaustion pattern and then trade it against those levels, right? So this has been pretty good trade. Some of the trade which I took on was CBI. So let's see if we can pull up this stock. So CBI, I was trading on this day, right? On this day, there's actually a lot of, I think I had a power outage or something. Let me just see. So CBI trade, right? You can see overall the trend is down, right? There's on the daily chart is down, on the weekly chart is down. So my bias has to be short. Now this is a day once again. There was no keystroke error on this one, but there was actually power outage, right? The freaking power was going on and off. I had no freaking clue what is going to happen to the power. So I remember on this day I actually shorted it, found a stress 1245, power went off, I had no clue what's going on. Once the power came back up, I saw this over here and I was like, you know what, screw this, let me just take it out. The what good thing that I really did was once I saw this $12 kind of being a resistance on the 5-minute chart, I rehit it as a short, and this time around I took smaller shares because I knew that, you know what, if power were to go out, I don't want to take on a lot of risk on the table and try to, what if the stock goes under and then goes right through and I had no power, right? So that's why you see me taking 200 shares at 1188 and taking some small gains on there. So a lot of uncertainty on this day, so I would say I'm pretty happy with making $100 on this trade. I mean, should have made a lot more, but you know what? It is what it is, right? At the end of the day, the stock actually went up to 1080, so directions is actually pretty good. It's just a matter of if there's a keystroke error or mismanaging of the trades. So we already talked about these, CBI, ESPR, and YKA. So let's talk about the PRGO and TRIP. So PRGO is a name that I traded on this day, right? If you look on the daily chart, this is the day when I was trading the PRGO. Now, a few errors that I really did was the stock has been down too fast, too much too fast, right? So instead of looking at short, I should be looking at long. So this is like exhaustion on the downside, right? So I kind of made a mistake on there. But hey, people make mistakes all the time. So what my thought process was, after this big down move, come back to the moving averages, I try to re-hit it over here, expecting it for it to flush down, which didn't really happen. So you see me taking the trade of PRGO on 200 shares, shorted at 63.86, but once it actually came back up, I quickly took it off. So that's pretty good. Instead of holding to your guns and trying to be like, I am right, this has been pretty good, right? Then looking at trip trade. So on trip trade, again, this was the day when I was trading it. So I was trying to short it, and you can see this big up move over here. So let's see what the heck is going on, right? So this is a day when I actually traded the trip. So I traded against this $36 level, right? So short was 36.50 and covered at 36.16. Okay, let me just try to bring it down to a lower time frame. Let's see if that's gonna give us a better understanding. Let's zoom this up. Okay, so here's what we were looking at on the so right when it opened down here, 36.50, I actually shorted it right at the open. The whole reason being is if you look at the daily chart, $36 was kind of a key level over here, right? 36.50, 36 if we were to call lower for it to actually trend down, which is the reason why I actually shorted it. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, once it went under this level, I shorted it and I quickly took out my profits. One good thing that I really did was once I saw this $36 level hold, I actually took out my positions, right? Because at the end you see this stock actually make this gigantic move to the upside, right? On the daily, right? You see this went from $36 all the way to $40, $4. So this one, my direction might be a bit off, but I actually took some decent gains. So overall, if I look on my trades, CBI had the right direction, ESPR had the right direction, MYOK had the right direction, NVIDIA had the right direction, PRGO and Trip were the only two that I had. My direction was a bit off, right? So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out of 6 trades, 4 of them I had the right direction, and I'd actually made decent gains on it. So keep in mind, I've only been trading for the first 30 minutes, maximum to an hour. That's highly unlikely. Most of them are done in 30 minutes. So I mean, if you're looking to trade, right, if you want to trade time for money, right? If you for on 30 minutes, if you trade 30 minutes for 5 days, right? For 30 minutes for 5 days, so that's 5 hours, right? Sorry, 30 minutes and 5 days. So 30 an hour, so 2.5 hours, and 2.5 hours work. For 2.5 hour work in 1 week, you make a profit of 822. I would say that's pretty good, right? I mean, people grind their asses working 7.5 hours each day. In a week, they work 40 hours and they still don't manage to make 822. So, hey, you know what? That's pretty good. And guys, please like and subscribe to the video. Hopefully you like it, and please share if you want.